Two kids buried their sleeping father in the sand and then playfully splashed a bucket of water over him. At that moment, a lightning bolt suddenly struck. Everyone was so frightened that they quickly fled. The two kids checked on their father, only to be shocked to find that the sand on him had turned into glass, and there was a large amount of blood flowing from his neck. They hurriedly called 911 when the firefighters arrived at the scene. They found the man's pulse elevated and his breathing weak, suspecting excessive blood loss. They needed to dig the man out quickly. The two kids felt very guilty, but they didn't understand why the sand turned into glass. Buck, seeing this, quickly comforted the two and patiently explained, lightning striking wet sand turns the water to glass. Meanwhile, the other firefighters discovered that a piece of glass had punctured the man's neck right at the artery. Luckily, it was partly cauterized, but as the team dug him free, the glass had also cut the artery in his arm. They were able to tourniquet the arm and save him. He was then placed on a stretcher and prepared to be taken to the hospital. Before leaving, the man comforted his kids, saying he was fine and telling them not to worry.
I love you, Daddy.
I love you too.
This man called 911, saying he heard a baby crying in his bathroom, but the firefighters who arrived heard nothing. Just then, the captain seemed to hear something, quickly grabbed a stethoscope, and sure enough, the sound of a baby crying came through. There was really a baby in the sewer. Seeing this, Buck grabbed an axe to break the wall, but fortunately, the captain stopped him. To protect the baby, the firefighters began digging by hand. Soon the sewer pipe was exposed. They carefully cut it with a saw, and eventually the entire pipe was removed. Following the light of the flashlights, they indeed found a baby stuck inside, but the baby was wedged it tightly and couldn't be pulled out. Then they applied lubricant inside the pipe. With the captain's gentle push, the baby was finally freed. However, the baby had already stopped breathing. The firefighters began to tap the baby's chest while using his fingers to clear the baby's throat. As the foreign object was removed, a faint cry finally came out. The firefighters rushed to get the baby to the hospital. Meanwhile, the cop noticed blood on the floor. Following the trail, they successfully located the sewer entrance where the incident happened. They also found the baby's mother. At that moment, the girl was bleeding heavily and in critical condition and needed to be rushed to the hospital. The mother and baby were both placed in the ambulance. At that moment, the baby's condition was very serious. The captain then took the girl's hand and gently placed it next to the baby. As soon as the mother touched the baby's tiny hand, the baby miraculously grabbed it and the situation began to stabilize. Seeing the innocent and strong little life, the girl shed tears of regret. The boy was just playing with a drone, but unexpectedly it alarmed half the city's firefighters. Everyone's faces were filled with shock, unable to imagine that a small drone could bring down a helicopter, which crashed onto the roof of an apartment building. At that moment, the helicopter was in pieces, with parts scattered all over the place. Even more despairing was that the helicopter's fuel was pouring into the building. Thick smoke was billowing inside the building, and a fire could break out at any moment. The firefighters had to act quickly. On the roof, Kelly and his team were trying to get the passengers out of the helicopter, but it was slowly slipping off the roof. The firefighters first secured the helicopter body, then began the rescue operation. Soon as the door was pried open, everyone was successfully rescued. Sherman and Otis found the propeller in someone's backyard. A woman was trapped underneath it, but the propeller was too heavy. The two of them couldn't move it at all. Otis had to go back for tools. At this moment, Herman said,
Nice piece of jewelry you got here.
which made her temporarily forget the pain. Finally, Otis and Sherman got the rotor off the woman and sent her to the ambulance. At this point, they found a remote control drone stuck in the propeller. When getting out of a car hit by power lines, you must land with both feet at the same time, or you'll get electrocuted like this. Just now, a man crashed into an electrical pole, and the power lines fell to the ground like a writhing mass of snakes, leaving the man trapped inside his car. The high-voltage wires were sparking densely on the car roof. The man was repeatedly calling for help. The firefighters were stunned by the scene, not daring to act rashly, as the entire area could be electrified. Ben told the man to stay in the car and not to move. Just as the firefighters were trying to hook the wires aside, the car began leaking gas. At that moment, if even the tiniest spark fell on it, the man's car would instantly explode. The situation was extremely urgent, but cutting off the power would take some time. The firefighters could only continue to hook away all the high-voltage lines from the car roof. While trying to get the man out of the car, the man carefully opened the car door. Jack instructed him not to let his hands touch both the ground and the car, then to hop off like a bunny with both feet landing simultaneously. This way, the circuit wouldn't be broken. Ben instructed the man to jump on the count of 3.
1, 2, 3.
People who like charging their phones or laptops in bed should be cautious. Just now, while a woman left to use the bathroom, the charging cable on her bed short-circuited, sparks flew out, and in the blink of an eye, the entire house was engulfed in flames. Firefighters arrived. The house was filled with thick smoke, pitch black inside. The woman was curled up in the bathroom, her consciousness somewhat hazy. Just as they were about to take her away, she said, "Hold on." Due to the urgency of the situation, the firefighters directly carried her out of the house. The fire grew stronger. The firefighters immediately turned on the water hoses, and the flames flames were extinguished soon. At that moment, the woman couldn't stop coughing. Having difficulty breathing, she endured the pain in her throat. Struggling to shout and name Charlie, the captain realized there was still someone inside. The firefighters were notified to continue the search. Travis suddenly heard a faint groan.
You guys hear that? Oh my god, it's a kid.
Everyone started calling out Charlie. Then Jack pinpointed the location. The firefighters gathered around, lifting a burnt chair, and there was Charlie. It turned out Charlie was the woman's pet dog. They then concluded the rescue amid the applause of the crowd.
A beam of 80,000-degree high-temperature radiation fell from the sky. The Golden Gate Bridge was instantly roasted. Then pigeons flew into the crowd like crazy. A flash of lightning turned the Colosseum into ruins. The cause of all this? It was because the liquid metal in the core of the Earth was gradually stopping. The world would be destroyed in 3 months. Humans had no choice but to take a spaceship made of special materials and carry TNT to the core of the Earth to save the world. Soon they arrived at the surface of the core. Unexpectedly, the density here was smaller than expected. This meant that the TNT equivalent they carried was not enough. Even if the spare nuclear bomb was added, the energy could not be transmitted because the density was too small, and the mission would end in failure. At this time, the doctor called the command center to start the Destiny Plan. It turned out that the military had been secretly researching earthquake weapons. The problem with the Earth's magnetic field was caused by the Destiny Plan. Yeah. After hearing this, Xiao Shui was furious. He believed that the Fate Plan could not save the Earth's core at all, and would only accelerate the arrival of the catastrophe. The command center informed everyone that the plan had been approved by the president and asked them to return immediately. However, Xiao Shui and his 3 men insisted on completing the mission, which made the doctor furious on the spot. Finally, Xiao He, who could no longer bear it, punched him to teach him a lesson. And this punch actually opened up the doctor's Ren and Du meridians, allowing him to come up with a perfect solution. By dividing TNT into 5 parts, loading them into different cabins, and releasing them around the Earth's core at once. This way, after detonation, it will exert its maximum power, thus making the Earth's core work again. However, a new problem arose again. The switch of the ejection cabin can only be turned on manually, and it is located in the cabin that was forced to be closed due to damage before. Therefore, 1,000-degree heat, which means that no one who goes there can return. So everyone started drawing lots. At this time, Xiao He tampered with the drawing. He decided to go and activate the switch himself, because only he knew the structure of the ship best. If he went, the success rate would be higher. And finally, the 3 people could only bid farewell to Xiao He in tears. As he pressed the hatch switch, the 5,000-degree heat wave almost knocked him down. The tools in his hands were instantly melted. Every step he took was so difficult, which made everyone extremely painful. And the sense of mission made Xiao He like a god. He walked towards the valve, step by step. In the end, he successfully opened the valve with the last bit of strength. Now, he just wanted to hold the determination to die and bury himself in the river. Helplessly, Xiao Mei could only suppress her grief and then press the ejection switch. Everyone had no time to grieve. They had to complete the task as soon as possible. Xiao Shui and the doctor began to type the nuclear bombs in each cabin. With the success of the cabin, the ejection mission was going smoothly, and when they were about to complete the last nuclear bomb, they suddenly realized that the equivalent of this nuclear bomb was not enough. It could not successfully activate the Earth's core. At this time, an accident happened again. A burst of energy hit the hull and the nuclear bomb dropped directly pressed Xiao Shui to death, and at this time, Xiao Mei could not receive the response. The doctor tried his best, but failed to move the nuclear bomb. At this critical moment, Xiao Mei made a sharp turn. This accident allowed Xiao Shui to break free. At this time, the nuclear bomb seemed to have eyes and attacked the doctor. Xiao Mei reminded that there were still 10 seconds left before the ejection time. At this time, the doctor's legs were pressed tightly by the nuclear bomb. Seeing that the hatch was about to close, the doctor quickly pushed Xiao Shui out. Xiao Shui could only watch his teammates sacrifice again. But now, he had no time to be sad. At this time, he needed more energy output. Suddenly, he thought of the spacecraft's own reactor. Even if this operation would prevent him from returning to the ground, he had to complete the mission. As the power disappeared, the last cabin was successfully launched. The spacecraft had completely lost power. The two could only quietly enjoy the remaining time. The nuclear bomb also began to explode at this moment. The rapid rise in temperature gave Xiao Shui a solution. He suddenly thought of the spacecraft relying on heat to charge, and the 9,000-degree high-temperature lava could continuously provide energy to the spacecraft. Accompanied by bursts of explosions, the Earth's core finally started to operate again, and the team finally completed their rescue mission. Then, Xiaoshui and his partner also started their escape. At this time, the energy value of the spacecraft instantly exploded. It was heading towards the ground at the maximum speed. Soon, the command center received the signal from the spacecraft. 4 hours later, they finally returned to the seabed. Without the heat of the lava, the spacecraft was paralyzed. The Ministry of Defense launched a search and rescue operation. But no trace of the two could be found. Suddenly, the crew received an ultrasonic signal, but it was soon confirmed to be sent by a whale. The captain thought it was unusual for a whale to appear in this area. It turned out that this was the signal Xiaoshui used to send out by the whale. Finally, they were successfully located. The film ends here. I hope we will never see the disaster scenes in the movie. Remember, everyone has the responsibility to protect the Earth.